Guys doing out there today? This is your boy Roto Beast. I'm here with my boy Jeremy, aka DFS Dudes, and we're here to present you our NBA morning shoot around for Wednesday, December 5th. If you're new to this channel, please make sure and click the subscribe button below. This way you can watch all of our NBA, NFL, and MLB videos. If you haven't came and checked out the site here at dfscheatsheet.com, you're absolutely missing out. We have all the tools to help you compete with the pros day in and day out, including a complete optimizer, tons of content, daily Fanduel and Draftkings cash lineups. Hey, we're truly a one-stop shop for all your DFS needs. So make sure to come check out the site, dfscheatsheet.com. So, hey, how you doing out there, Jeremy?
Yo, what's up, man? I'm good. I'm doing good.
And hey, one thing I quickly want to say is tonight was probably one of the ugliest nights of basketball I've ever seen. It was absolute crazy. I mean, almost every single person in the lineup was over 50% owned. Super chalky night. Hey, but guess what? At the end of the day, we still cash on FanDuel and DraftKings. Cash lineups hit. Hey, man, we've been rolling. We've been on fire. If you haven't joined, man, ask yourself, hey, what are you waiting for? Stop missing out. So, man, hey, we got a big slate. I'm ready just to jump in this slate. If you are, we can just get going.
Hey, one thing I want to quickly say is if you didn't watch the shoot around this afternoon that we did before tip off, or the what do we call that? The tip off? What do we call that video?
The NBA Live.
So if you didn't watch that, we gave away some monster plays tonight. One would be Costa Kufos. One would be Justin Jackson with his 15.9, but he was outshined by the guy I said at 3,500, Troy Williams. We gave away some monster value plays that were deep dives that could have really helped you cash tonight too. So make sure you catch the content we're doing. Subscribe to the channels, put your notifications on. Don't miss the stuff we're doing because we're giving a lot of stuff away for free that you're not going to get anyplace else.
Right. Hey, man, we're taking care of business for sure, bro. Hey, NBA has been doing very well for us. So, yeah, man, I mean, let's get into this slate. Real quick, before we do, if you guys don't mind, please take that quick second. Click the like button down below for me. And that helps me out a lot, man. I really appreciate you guys doing that for me. And, yeah, man, let's just get started, bro. I'm ready to go. So, first game we're going to jump into, it's going to be the Denver Nuggets going into Orlando to face the Magic. This game has a 207.5 implied total, and Denver's favored by 5 in this one.
Yeah, so I'm going to start with Jamal Murray. We'll look at his game history here and check what he's done in his game log. 34.4, 21.4, 26.6, 40.6. That's his recent 4. Here's the deal. A cool tool that I'm working on that's going to be up on the site, I'd probably say in the next week and a half or so. I'm still kind of refining it, but it's called PVO. So it's player versus opponent and what that player's done specifically against that opponent. And we look at Jamal Murray. He's got a DVP matchup tomorrow of 22. He's averaged 36.5 against Orlando in his career and 1.03 points per minute. So at 7,000, that's a pretty solid cash play against a guy who's had a lot of success. He's in a solid DVP matchup. So I like Murray at 7,000. I think he's safe in all formats tomorrow going up against Orlando, who is going to be coming in on a back-to-back. The other guy that I really like in this spot, I think a lot of people are going to start looking at Jokic again because he had a monster game his last time out. I mean, the dude put up a monster game, 60.7, came out of nowhere. He was 8,500. And in fact, if you watch a shoot-around video the night before that, I absolutely said this is the spot to play him at 8,500. If you're going to play Jokic, play him at 8,500 in a spot where you could go against Toronto, the spot where he'd put up, big numbers, and he did. So I'm not looking to play Jokic tomorrow very much. He's a tournament play, and I'm okay with that. Need a little bit more consistency, but a guy that I'm definitely interested in playing is Paul Millsap at 6,800. Again, you look at player versus opponent numbers. Paul Millsap, DVP is 21 for Orlando. They're 21st against opposing power forwards. He's averaged 39 fantasy points per game against Orlando at 1.3 fantasy points per minute, and that's kind of the guys I'm looking at early on for Denver.
Yeah, then on the Orlando side of things, I'm going to be honest with you. It's pretty much a complete fade for me. We know Denver is one of the best defensive teams in the league. And Orlando's going to be on the second end of a back-to-back. This just looks like a disaster spot, in my opinion. A couple guys I think you can look at for strictly GPP. Terrence Ross, he's getting consistent minutes. He's been playing very well, very consistent. The price tag is up a little bit. 5.5. We need about 27 for value. But yeah, man, he's been consistent his last 5. So strictly GPP, you could possibly look at him. Aaron Gordon had a good game today. But I'm not really going to be looking at him going against Paul Millsap. Millsap is a pretty good defender. And then lastly, I mean, you could throw in Vucevic and a couple of GPPs. But this is kind of my classic rule of big guy going against big guy. Somebody's going to get in foul trouble. Vucevic is going to be on the second end of a back-to-back for a big man. Could be a little bit of a struggle spot for him against a good defense. So, I mean, I'm not really feeling this Orlando team. Really, I like Terrence Ross more than anybody for, a couple of GPP entries. And that's about it for me, man.
Did I tell you guys Aaron Gordon was going to crush the spot? Did I say that? Hey man, the player versus opponent data is real. I mean, it's real. Guys, I mean, we put a lot of weight in BVP, right? I mean, player versus opponent's real.
Yeah, so we're moving on to going to go to it is going to be Golden State going into Cleveland to face the Warriors. This game has a 222.5 over under, and Golden State's favored by 11 in this one.
Yeah, so I mean, if you look at player, me looking at player versus opponent data, the one guy that sticks out is Kevin Durant. 57 fantasy points is what he averaged last year against Cleveland at 1.58 fantasy points per minute. But that's with LeBron James on that team. There is no LeBron James on this team, and Cleveland doesn't have the scoring to keep this game close. This game should blow out. I'm really not interested in anything at the moment on this side. When I dive a little bit deeper into this slate and start taking a look at guys' performance versus value, etc., there may be some tournament plays here. The thing with the Warriors is the Warriors can get their big three can get you value in 3 quarters, so they're playable on any slate. I just don't know if I want to go there yet.
Yeah, man. No, I definitely feel you, bro. So then on the Cleveland side of things, I mean, honestly, I think it's going to be a blowout, in my opinion. You got Curry back. One guy I do want to note, though, Colin Sexton, his price has actually dropped a little bit. 4,800, fair price tag for him. The guy, for the most part, he's been getting minutes, playing 33, 35 minutes a game. Up-tempo game for him. Young guy, he can get out and run. For value, we need about 24, and he's averaging 24 on the season almost. So I think that this is actually a really good spot for Sexton. I'm not really worried about no Steph Curry defense. I like him. I definitely think you could throw him in a couple of GPPs. He showed us he has a little bit of upside as well. So I like Sexton in this spot. And then, I mean, you definitely can go to Tristan Thompson, but his price tag is way up there. Now, that's the thing that's scaring me with Tristan Thompson is the price tag is way up there. But, I mean, he's been playing well, and he deserves his price tag. I'm just not willing to pay 7.7 for Tristan Thompson in a game that I think could definitely get out of hand quickly, and, a lot of starters sit. Looney, price tag starting to jump up. Going to stay away from him. Drebko as well, sometimes they start him, sometimes they don't. I don't really know what they're doing with this big man rotation. So for me, I mean, honestly, on the Cleveland side of things, I really just like Sexton. I think he's a very fair price, and I'm not really looking to look at anybody else outside of that.
Yeah, move on.
Cool. Next game we're going to go to, it's going to be Oklahoma City Thunder going into Brooklyn to face the Nets. This game has a 216.5 implied total, and OKC's favored by 7 in this one.
Yeah, so a guy that I like in this spot is Schroeder. At 5,900, the guy's had a lot of success against Brooklyn in the past. 40.1 fantasy points is what he averaged last year. 1.28 fantasy points. We know he's not in the starting lineup. He has been, then he's not. So I guess I should say wait till tomorrow and see what they release. But expect Terrence Ferguson to start as long as Ferguson is healthy. It seems that Terrence Ferguson starts at the shooting guard spot, and then Schroeder comes in off the bench. I like him in this spot. You have to like Westbrook at 11,000. 11,000 is too cheap for Russell Westbrook. You need 55 in cash for him to reach value. You need 66 in tournaments. The guy's more than capable of getting that on any given night. The cool thing about this game for me is that Brooklyn can score. They've got guys that can score. They've got D'Angelo Russell who can score. They've got guys who can score the basketball. Dinwiddie's been playing well as well. So I think this game can stay somewhat close, and I think you can look at a Westbrook. You can look at Paul George. Paul George is another guy whose price is really cheap. I mean, you take a look at Paul George and what Paul George has done in his previous game history against Brooklyn, and he's averaged 40.3 fantasy points, 1.09 fantasy points per minute. The DVP is 25, 25th against small forwards. Paul George seems to be one of the better plays on the slate in this spot, only 8,300. You look at the other small forwards on the slate, Kawhi Leonard is the only big name that's below 10,000. He's 9,800. So at 8,300 in a game that there could be a lot of points scored, I think Paul George is a very fair play. And then you have to mention Steven Adams at 7,700. For some reason, my gut feeling right now is that he'll go under owned and off the radar, but that's my gut feeling right now. I could wake up tomorrow morning and the whole world will be on Steven Adams because it is a center going against Brooklyn. But Adams is a monster. I've said all year long how much I like this guy's game. He's just a beast. So 7.7 for him. I like that price. I would much rather pay 7.7 for Steven Adams against Brooklyn than Tristan Thompson against Golden State. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely, bro. I'm with you on that one. So on the Brooklyn side of things, I mean, Dinwiddie, I like Dinwiddie 6,000. The price tag's right there. We need 30 for value. This guy does have some upside. He's playing right around 30 minutes a game for the most part. I definitely think you could look at Dinwiddie strictly a deep GPP play, but I think you could possibly look at him. And then you talked about D'Angelo Russell. This guy's just been playing out of his mind right now. He's just getting so many shots. It's ridiculous. Last game, he shot 31 shots against Cleveland. Like, this guy just has the ultimate green light, and he's putting up a ton of shots, a ton of points he's getting fantasy-wise. The price tag is rose a little bit, but if the guys are going to take 25 shots a game, then this price tag is still very fair. The usage is through the roof. So D'Angelo Russell is my favorite player on the Brooklyn side of things. And then Carroll, I don't know what's going on with this dude. I mean, he's still dirt cheap. There's a couple games where he's got, big minutes. And when he gets minutes, he's going to produce. He's going to do, he has 38 fantasy point upside. But these other games, he's getting 20, 22. They're not giving him consistent minutes. So that's what's really scaring me. I honestly just like Russell on the Brooklyn side of things.
Yeah.
Cool. Next game we're going to go to is going to be Washington Wizards going into Atlanta to face the Hawks. This game has a 233 over-under, and Washington is favored by 5 in this one.
So there's a couple of ways you can go, and this is the first thing I'm going to say is, we've noted many times the mess that is Washington, but finally I think this is a game that Washington can score a lot of points going against an Atlanta team that will probably give up a lot of points and score a lot of points as well. I think that this game could stay relatively close. I think there's decent value in this game as well. Starting with Bradley Beal, 8,500. He's played well recently. 8.5 is probably a little bit high for what this team is, what his usage has been on the season, but as of late, not bad play. John Wall, 9,400. I'd rather find the extra money to get Westbrook. I just would. At this particular point, that could change by tomorrow morning. But the guy who's absolutely killed Atlanta in the past is Markieff Morris, priced up at 6,300, and rightfully so. No Dwight Howard. He's getting the extra run. I want to note a couple of things right off the bat. Satoransky is a guy that people are loading up and playing right now because of his price. And the reason that is, if you're not aware, Satoransky is actually starting at small forward for them. Otto Porter starting at power forward. And then Markieff Morris, when he's in the starting lineup, he's kind of their center. So they're playing small. Thomas Bryant is a guy that's kind of just starting the game at points, but he's not getting a significant amount of run. Markieff Morris is a guy who's actually getting the majority of that run. So 6,300, a guy who's smashed Atlanta previously. He's averaging right at value, almost 30 fantasy points in his career against Atlanta. The DVP matchup is obviously really good. It's Atlanta. They're 30th against power forwards and centers. So Markieff Morris is probably my favorite play on this side of it. Outside of that, I think John Wall's a tournament play only. I think Bradley Beal's a tournament play only. And that's really about as far as I'm going to get into it. I don't want to mess around with Jeff Green. Don't know what's going on there. You got Jeff Green and Oubre kind of splitting minutes. You got Otto Porter. He's not getting a lot of minutes. He's kind of losing minutes to Markieff Morris. So I think Morris is the safest guy. He's the most aggressive. He's the most active of those kind of four guys between Bryant, Green, Oubre, Porter. So, I like Morris quite a bit.
Yeah, man, on the Atlanta side of things, bro, I'm not really feeling nobody. I guess you could possibly look at Trae Young, but he's just been so inconsistent. Trae Young is strictly GPP, and the only other guy I'm really even going to consider, John Collins, a guy's been playing very well since coming back. They're committed to giving this guy around 30 minutes, and he's a fancy point monster. It's all about minutes with him. So I like John Collins. I think that he's probably the best play on the Atlanta side of things. And then, like I said, Trae Young maybe in a couple GPP entries, but I mean, Bazemore's coming off the bench now. Horter's getting some minutes, and his price tag's up a little bit. Even with Prince out, Bembry hasn't really been getting the minutes. The minutes are all over the place, even for the centers. You got Deadman. When he gets minutes, we know he produces. But he had 31 minutes last game, and before that, he was just barely 20 to 22 minutes. So I'm just gonna stick with John Collins, Trae Young, strictly GPP, and just kind of move on.
Bro, I'm going to say one thing about Trae Young because I like this guy tomorrow a lot. We know John Wall's not a great defender, and you take a look at his game log. His previous 3 games, he's against Kemba Walker, Russell Westbrook, and then Steph Curry. Steph Curry's he's a good defender, and what the common thing here with these 3 guys is they put a lot of pressure on the opposing point guard. They put a lot of pressure on him, both on the offensive side and the defensive side. You can take a look at his Miami game as his most recent best game at 39 fantasy points. And who was there? Goran Dragic has been out. So who was defending him? Really, it was kind of a mix of guys. Maybe a Justice Winslow and a Richardson. But my point being, I think this is a spot going against John Wall where his price is stayed at 7,000. I think you can use Trae Young in tournaments tomorrow and not be afraid to have him exposed at maybe 20 to 25% of your lineups.
Yeah, man. I mean, I get what you're saying. I just, I hate going after inconsistent players. That's my only real thing with him, to be honest. But yeah, man. So let's move on. Next game that we are gonna move on to is gonna be Dallas Mavericks going into New Orleans to face the Pelicans. This game, waiting on some injury news, so we don't have an over/under or a Vegas line on it yet. So go ahead and get us started, bro.
Man, so Dallas is going to be on a back-to-back. Here's what I'm going to tell you. I have no idea what's going to go on with Dallas coming into their last few games. Half their roster's been a game-time decision. Their game just wrapped up like an hour ago. We have no idea what they're going to list in the morning. It's who's questionable, game-time decision, who's out. I think that they attacked the front half of a back-to-back. They had a home game. They took it. That's like playing with house money now on the first half of a back-to-back. So I'm going to stay away from this for the moment because I have no idea what they're going to do. I don't even think they know what they're going to do with these guys. You can look at the usual cast of characters, though, if they are playing. Dennis Smith Jr., I'll probably stay away from that with our Drew Holiday rule. Doncic is maybe the only guy that I look to load up. And the reason I say Doncic is Mirotic. If Mirotic is out for some reason tomorrow with the illness, then I think Doncic is a really good play. What people don't realize is Doncic is not a shooting guard. So he's listed, like on FanDuel, he's listed as a shooting guard. The guy's playing power forward. So Mirotic is listed as a small forward. The guy's playing power forward. So, you can see by when Julius Randle gets a start, when Mirotic is out, that's because they bump Anthony Davis to power forward and Randle starts at center for him. So if Mirotic sits, and Doncic plays, I like Doncic in this spot. I like the guy's game. That's really all I like at this and especially at this particular point, not having any clue what they're going to do. This is a team who just had half their team game time decision.
Yeah, man. And then, on the New Orleans side of things, I think you look at the obvious guys. Frazier, it was a nice little run with Frazier, but his price tag jumped up quickly. So I'm not going to be looking at Frazier at a little bit of an elevated price tag. Drew Holiday, honestly, bro, I've been playing this guy since last year. This is the most expensive I've ever seen Drew Holiday, almost 10,000. It's like absolutely crazy. I'm not going to pay the price on this for him. I understand, he's had, a really good stretch recently. If the guy was, 8,500, 1,000 less, I definitely would consider him. I'm not paying almost 10,000 for Drew Holiday with Anthony Davis healthy. If Anthony Davis wasn't healthy and he was going to be the main man, maybe, but not with Anthony Davis healthy. Anthony Davis, He's been on an absolute run. I mean, he's scoring the ball very well right now. Rebounding the ball, he's killing it. I definitely think he's a guy you could look to pay up for. The only thing about it is he is going to be battling DeAndre Jordan, and DeAndre Jordan is a pretty good defender. So it's not the best matchup for Anthony Davis. Definitely think he's still in play, though. Like you said, Dallas is on the second end of a back-to-back. So I definitely think that you could consider Anthony Davis in this spot. And then, you got Etuan Moore. He came back last game. He's a guy we've been, sneakily playing, this season. The minutes have been down the past couple of days, but I expect him to definitely trend back up. They really like this guy a lot. He's, I think, a sneaky GPP play. Mirotic, questionable. If Mirotic is out and you get your boy Randall going to be starting at 7,000, you just absolutely lock and load Randall and just move on. I definitely think he would be absolute monster play. So keep an eye on that news. But my favorite play on the New Orleans side of things is Randall if Mirotic is out.
Yeah, I'm with that.
Yeah, I do like Holiday and I do like Davis. They're just super priced. Randall is very fair price, 7,000.
The problem with Drew Holiday and his price is not his price. The problem with Drew Holiday and his price is that Tim Frazier's starting a point guard now. If Drew Holiday is playing point guard and he's starting a point guard and there is no Tim Frazier, and look, I get it. Drew Holiday's got heavy usage and he's handling the ball. I get it. But if Drew Holiday was starting a point guard without a Tim Frazier on the floor who is a point guard, then I don't mind the price because the guy before they started Frazier was averaging almost a double-double and like averaging 21, 22 points and almost 11 assists. So for that, if I'm getting that Drew Holiday, I don't mind it for the price, especially in a matchup like this. But now right.
I get you completely. All right, man. I'm ready to move on. Next game, this actually is going to be a really, really good game. You got Philadelphia 76ers going into Toronto to face the Raptors. This game has a 230 over-under, and Toronto's favored by 6 in this one.
So let's just start with the man himself, Joel Embiid. We'll pop open his player card here and take a look at his recent performance. 2 lackluster performances. I think that could hold people off of him tomorrow because he hasn't played as well as he's played in previous games. Kind of ending this run of 50-point games with a 40 and a 36.3. We say it all the time, though. Memphis and Marc Gasol, they're a tough defensive team. Marc Gasol is a tough center to go against. 2 big men that are really good going against each other. So it just wasn't a good matchup. I like this matchup and his game history against them. When you look at his player versus opponent numbers, fantasy points, 1.42 points per minute. I like this spot when you could also consider the fact that Ibaka and Siakam seem to be the bulk of the minutes at center and power forward for them. I think this is a spot Embiid can absolutely dominate. So I like Embiid tomorrow at 10-7. One thing about this slate, this is not a 5-game slate. You're going to have to figure out where you want to pay up. And you have to figure out, do you want to pay up with Embiid? Do you think this is the guy who can get you 7, 8x tomorrow night? I think it's a matchup he can definitely exploit. I don't know if it's a guy that I want to pay up for. Start looking other spots. Jimmy Butler at 7,900. I like him for tournaments tomorrow, and I like him for a couple of reasons. One, I don't think anybody's going to be on Jimmy Butler because his price continues to deteriorate. You pop open his player card. We start to look at what he's done, previously. It's very up and down. And like you just mentioned, you don't like to use guys that are inconsistent. Well, we see a 15.8. And I've known you for a while. That you see that 15.8 and know where he's playing. You're like, I'm not playing Jimmy Butler. But I think there's always matchups you can exploit. This is one where Jimmy Butler has done very well against Toronto in the past, averaging 45.7 fantasy points and 1.22 fantasy points per minute. Look, I'll say it until I'm blue in the face. To me, one of the most important stats I look at is what a player's done in his past against a certain opponent. There's a whole realm of factors that go into that. It's a system that, maybe the defensive system and offensive system that particular team plays against allows for a certain player in a certain spot to have a great matchup. So that's just one of the things I look at. I like Butler 7,900. I think it's a really good price, a really good tournament play tomorrow, a guy you could take a chance on. Outside of that, I'm not really looking to play Ben Simmons tomorrow. I'm just not. I understand his price is depreciated 8,900, but there's other spots I want to go. At point guard, namely Russell Westbrook at 11,000 against Brooklyn, where I don't really think I want to go with the Ben Simmons. I'm not saying don't use him in tournaments. I think he's fine, but for me, I'm not on Ben Simmons at all really right now.
Yeah, man. And then, I mean, on the Toronto side of things, there's honestly about 3 guys I'm looking at. Kyle Lowry, 8,000, very fair price tag for him. We need 40 for value. We know he plays, better at home usually. And I think he can get us close to 40. This is going to be, it's just, two of the top 3 teams in the East, in my opinion. So it's going to be a battle. Both teams are really going to want to win this game. I could definitely see Lowry stepping up tomorrow, have a solid game at 8,000. Kawhi Leonard, he's still under 10,000. The guy, he's obviously the best player on the team. He's scoring a ton of points. He's got 27 real life points in 5 of his past 6 games, getting a bunch of rebounds. He's doing a little bit of everything. I definitely think this price tag, I will pay for Kawhi Leonard at under 10,000. Definitely think he gives us a solid floor in a game that I expect to be pretty close. And then, you mentioned it. Ibaka, he plays at center. He's going to be going against Joel Embiid. I don't like him very much in that spot. I think he could definitely get in foul trouble. The guy I do like, Siakam, though, at power forward. He's going to be, if he's matched up against Wilson Chandler, who they've been starting at the power forward, I think Siakam can absolutely bully Wilson Chandler. And this guy's been very, very consistent. On the season. Guy been playing very well. I mean, they've committed to this guy. He's getting his minutes. So I think he's a really, really good play. So, my top 3 plays on Toronto, you're going to look at Lowry, Leonard, and then Siakam for me.
Yeah, no, I think I absolutely agree with you about Siakam, man. I like him a lot tomorrow.
Yeah, and that's just because he's not going to have to guard Embiid. It's going to be Ibaka and Valanciunas having to deal with that shit.
Yeah, he's such a good slasher, too. Wilson Chandler can't handle him.
All right. So we got Detroit Pistons going into Milwaukee to face the Bucks. This game has a 227.5 over under, and Milwaukee's favored by 7.5 in this one.
Yeah, man, just jump right into it and go to Drummond. So you got Embiid at 10-7, and you got Drummond, who had a really bad game against Oklahoma City. But like I said before, when we were talking about the Brooklyn-Oklahoma City game, Steven Adams is a beast. He just is. The guy's very big, and Jared Allen is not Steven Adams. So, Milwaukee doesn't have any type of a center like Steven Adams. So I like Drummond a lot. I've used centers against Milwaukee all season long. It's a spot I like to attack. We say it over and over again. Brook Lopez is not a real center. Their real rebounder is Giannis. That's just who it is. So, I like Drummond. I think this is a spot Drummond can dominate. Recent game history, he's done fairly well against Milwaukee in seasons past. I like Drummond a lot. I think 9-3 is a very fair price for a guy who has 60-point upside. And to me, this is a spot they can get up for. I watched a little piece the other night he's been working with your boy. Why can't I think of his name?
I'm not sure.
I want to say Durant, but it's not Durant, dude. The guy who played for Minnesota.
Oh, Kevin Garnett.
Kevin Garnett. Yeah, he's been working with Kevin Garnett for a while now, like basically all year. Garnett's going in and working with him a lot. He's really picked his game up this year. It's a guy I like. I like Blake Griffin too, but I don't like Blake Griffin in this matchup because of Giannis, and they're kind of playing the same position. They're both kind of playing a point forward position. I think they could draw each other, and I don't know if I like any side of that, to be honest with you. And then outside of that, I'll say it every time we have Detroit in the slate. I'm not playing a small forward or shooting guard on any side of the Detroit's on. And a point guard position. Watched the game the other night. Against Oklahoma City because I had quite a bit of Westbrook. Reggie Jackson just disengaged. The guy's disengaged. He's just disengaged. Blake Griffin is a guy who handles the majority of the possessions. They run the offense through Blake. Reggie Jackson just looks disengaged. They need to trade him out of there because he just looks disengaged. So I don't want any.
Remember I was telling you that they're using Blake Griffin as like a point guard? I was telling you that like a while ago.
Yeah.
It's crazy, though, because that's not really great.
Yeah, Blake Griffin's playing a lot like Giannis. I mean, they're both kind of playing the same. I mean, Giannis is a much better player, but they're playing the same role. Right. So I don't want any part of that other than Drummond, though.
All right, Milwaukee side of things. I always look at the same guys for them. There's 4 guys I always look at. Eric Bledsoe, they never change his price tag. 7-2, we need 36 for value. This is a guy that could get us 36 easily any single night. He plays a ton of minutes. He fills up the stat sheet, gets some defensive stats as well. I like Bledsoe in this spot. Like you said, I mean, he's going to be guarded by Reggie Jackson. Reggie Jackson, who doesn't even care. You can look at Middleton, 7,200. I mean, this guy, he's their best scorer. We know that. He gets a ton of minutes usually. Right after Giannis, he's their next best player. I think that he's definitely in play. Think about Brogdon. I always talk about Brogdon with Middleton. I usually combine them. But, I mean, it's crazy because Brogdon's actually the guy that's been playing a little bit better recently. He's been scoring the ball very well, 22 real-life scoring points in 4 of the past 5 games. He's running hot right now. I like him. They're playing these guys a ton, meaning I'm talking about Bledsoe, Middleton, Brogdon, and Giannis. Those guys are playing 34, 35 minutes a game. So I definitely think all 4 of those guys are in play. And then you got Antetokounmpo, the man himself. Triple-double upside any single night. I mean, this guy is just on an absolute tear right now. 63 fantasy points in 3 of the past 4, in 4 of the past 6. He's on fire. Definitely think that, if the season was going to end today and they had to pick an MVP, it would have to be him. The guy's just absolutely torching it right now. So I definitely think he's in play. And if you think that this game is going to stay close in any way, shape, or form, then I think that he possibly could be the guy that you do want to pay up for tomorrow. And that's really where I'm at, man.
Let me just tell you a couple things, bro. I'm just going to say a couple things on Milwaukee because Eric Bledsoe is my favorite play on the entire slate right now. So not only all the things you already mentioned about him, but when you take a look at the DVP numbers, they're 24th against point guards. You take a look at the game history, player versus opponent. He averages 39.3 fantasy points and 1.3 fantasy points per minute against Detroit. This is a matchup he smashes. So I love him a lot. And then you mentioned Brogdon, and then he's been the guy that's been hot. 27th is the DVP matchup, and the guy's averaged almost 30 fantasy points at 1 fantasy point per minute. So you figure if he's playing 34, 35 minutes, you can kind of lock him in for 35. And at his price tag, that's more than cash value. I like both those guys, but right now Bledsoe is probably my favorite play on the whole slate.
Yeah, definitely, bro. I like playing me some Bledsoe. And the thing is he's always low. Nobody ever plays him. So moving on, next game we're going to go to, it's going to be Charlotte Hornet going into Milwaukee to face the Timberwolves. This game has a 221.5 implied total, and Minnesota's favored by 5 in this one.
So, I mean, you got to talk about Kemba Walker because of the fact that he's having a really good season, but there's not a lot I like in this matchup for the Charlotte side. We know Kemba Walker's home road splits. We know he's a much better player at home than he is on the road. I'm not sure that I want to go here with Walker. Like I said, 7,200 Bledsoe right now is probably my favorite play. So for me, I think Walker's a tournament-only play. Shooting guard position, Jeremy Lamb's been playing really good this year. He's really taken over that Nicholas Batum role, and that's why Batum was kind of falling off the face of the earth. I stick to the rule on Nicholas Batum. You can't pay me. You couldn't even – if you pay for my entry fees into tournaments, I guarantee you I would not put Batum in any of those lineups. So I'm not playing Batum, period. Power forward position. The only guy here, I actually want to use this play, right? So I look, Marvin Williams listed as out. Kaminsky is a guy I want to play at 3.9, not just because Marvin Williams is out, but you look at game history and Frank Kaminsky, 28 in DVP is what they are against opposing power forwards. He's averaged 24.8 fantasy points and 1.03 fantasy points per minute against Charlotte in the past. If Frank Kaminsky gets a start here, I love him in this spot at 3.9. I think you load him up as your drop spot and move on. Other than that, that's all I really got on the Charlotte side of things.
Yeah, I mean, on the Minnesota side of things, I mean, there's a couple guys you could look at. I mean, I definitely think you start with Teague. Teague is a guy that's been consistent for us for the most part. I do like Teague in this spot. Definitely think that he can have a solid game. Outside of a couple games, for the most part, he's getting his 32 to 34 minutes a game. I like him. Derrick Rose, his price has dropped, but his production has dropped as well. He's an older dude, and he couldn't keep up the production that he's been doing, for the whole entire season. A lot of people are going to be off on. Possibly you could throw him in a couple lineups, strictly GPP, but I'm not really on Derrick Rose. The two guys I'm really looking at on Minnesota is Teague, Towns, not under 10,000. Charlotte doesn't really have a true center. I think this is a spot that Towns could definitely eat. He's had a couple decent games recently, but I definitely think he could get us a 60 burger in this spot. Wiggins, I'm not touching. Very, very inconsistent. The last guy I like, but the price tag's up on him is Covington. Covington's been playing very well, been playing a shitload of minutes, 35, 37, 38 minutes a game. You got to like that from him. He does a little bit of everything. But with him, it's all about if he's hitting his three-pointers, then he's going to have a good game. If he's not, then he's going to get you about 20 fantasy points. That's really what it is with Covington. So I think you can look at T, Covington, GPP, and then throw in a little bit of Towns, and that's really all I'm looking at for Minnesota.
Two things real quick, bro, before I move on. One, the guy that probably starts at power forward tomorrow is Miles Bridges, listed as a small forward at 5,300. So if you look for that, if that's the guy you want to play. For me, I'm going to look to play Kaminsky. Hope he gets the bump and tick. Second thing I want to mention is the thing about Covington is when he was in Philadelphia, he got weird run, dude. He just got weird run and played in weird spots. And he's a shooter who can never get in a rhythm. And the thing we know about Thibodeau is the guy lets his starters play. Like, they play big minutes. And I think that's really benefited him on a little bit of a price drop. I think he was 7,600 and an inflated price the other night. He's probably my second favorite player on the slate right now.
Who's that, Covington?
Covington.
Yeah. All right, man. Moving on. Next game we're going to go to, it's going to be the Los Angeles Clippers going into Memphis to face the Grizzlies. This game has a 212.5 implied total, and Memphis is favored by 1 in this one.
Yeah. There's not a lot I like here, bro.
Yeah. This game is going to be like more of a defensive game, in my opinion.
The guy that's had really good success against Memphis in the past is Lou Williams at 5.9. You can probably hear my voice. I'm not really excited about it, but he has averaged almost 40 fantasy points per game against Memphis. It's a spot that you could look to play him in tournaments. I think the Clippers as a whole are just put GPP next to their name, and if you want to load some guys up like Tobias Harris, who's been playing at a high level, and Harrell, who's been playing at a high level, feel free to do that. I don't really want anything to do with Galigius Alexander against Mike Conley. So for me, that's, Gallinari's been playing at a pretty high level recently, but at 7.2, I like Covington a whole hell of a lot better at 7,000 than I like Gallinari at 7.2 against Memphis.
Yeah, man. So freaking on the Memphis side of things, I really just like the two main guys, and Conley and Marc Gasol. The problem with both of them, the price tags are crazy high. Marc Gasol, 10.2. Just for him to hit value, we need 51. He could definitely get us 51, but we need 51 just for regular cash value. For tournament value, we need almost 60. For me, he's overpriced. He's not a guy I'm going to play. And then you got Mike Conley, 9,100. We need 46 for value from him. 46, he could definitely get there. And both of these guys, I'm not saying they can't hit their value on those prices, but I'm not going to pay overpriced price tag on these guys. So, I mean, those are really the guys you look at on Memphis. But for me, I'm just staying away from Memphis.
I would absolutely load up Kyle Anderson in a heartbeat because of the fact that he's got one matchup this year where he got 28 fantasy points at a 6.0 price tag. So he didn't quite reach value, but it's 28. He's at 58. So, and then you look at 2 games last year, 28.2 and 28.8. So this seems to be a matchup that Anderson likes. He fits well here. I know you hate playing this guy because he doesn't score the basketball, but he's one of those guys that if he does get you 8 or 9 points, he gets you 30 or 33 fantasy points because of the fact that he does get steals, blocks, and rebounds.
Yeah, bro. I don't play Kyle Anderson. He ain't the guy I play. Just no thank you. I'm ready to move on. Last game of the night. We got San Antonio Spurs, who are an absolute mess, going into Los Angeles to face the Lakers. This game has a 225 implied total, 225 over under, and the Lakers are favored by 8.5.
Yeah, so I don't know if any of you guys watched any of this game. It was the Utah game tonight for San Antonio. It was on NBA TV. They started the season 7-1 and were like top 4 in defensive efficiency. They are like 1-9 or something since, and they're last in defensive efficiency. So, having said that, they're playing a Lakers team that is not very efficient defensively themselves. The good part about them being on a back-to-back here is they got their doors blown off tonight, so they didn't have heavy usage on these guys. So you could probably see a full complement of minutes from their starting crew. I like this game, dude. I really do. We saw this game play out earlier in the season. Lakers put up a lot of points, and at that point in time, San Antonio is one of the top teams defensively in the league. They're not that anymore. The Lakers can score the basketball. I think the Lakers give up a lot of points, so you got to look at a guy, DeMar DeRozan. Just look at the last two matchups he's had against the Lakers this year, where he puts up 61.4 and 63.6. The Lakers are terrible against opposing shooting guards. They just are. It's not a position they defend very well. He loves to play the Lakers on top of it. He loves to play in LA on top of that. So I like DeRozan a ton. Outside of that, not really looking to load up anybody else. You could take a spot. If you want to take a drop spot, you could try a Bryn Forbes or a Patty Mills. Patty Mills tends to play well against the Lakers as well. But other than that, this is DeRozan, and DeRozan.
Yeah, man. And on the Lakers side of things, I mean, I like two guys. That's all I really like. I like, LeBron earlier in the year in this matchup. He had a solid game. 54 fantasy points and 62 fantasy points. So 2 games in a row, he did very well against the Spurs. And his price tag, 10.7. That's a very, very fair price for LeBron. So I think LeBron is a really, really good play tomorrow. We're talking about if we're going to pay up for, Anthony Davis, or we're going to pay up for, some of the other guys. I think LeBron is a guy that 10.7, there's a very fair price tag that has had 2 really good games against San Antonio this year. LeBron is honestly, after going through this slate, he's one of my favorite guys on the higher end today. I think that I'm looking at tomorrow. And then you can also,
why you gotta tell all the people for free get on LeBron James tomorrow? You're driving ownership to a guy we both want to play.
My bad, man. Hey,
I'm just playing.
You could possibly look at Brandon Ingram. His guy fills up the stat sheet, 6,500. But me on the Lakers, it's pretty much just LeBron James. That's really where I'm looking at for the Lakers, bro.
So you got to mention Kuzma, dude. You just have to, because Kuzma's played really well against them. He's played really well against San Antonio.
He had one good game and one game. So yeah, he did. He had the 49 fantasy point game and the 21 fantasy point game. 7,000. I mean, I'll play Kuzma pretty much any night because this guy does have upside. My apologies for not mentioning him. Yeah, whenever I talk about the Lakers, I'm always pretty much right now with their current rotation and stuff. It's really just LeBron, Ingram, and Kuzma. Those guys always get their minutes, and outside of that, yeah, you're right. I'm out after that.
Even last year, though, I mean, you look at Kuzma at a 5-1 price tag, played 30 minutes, had 29.2, 6.5 price tag, 37.5. So the guys played well against San Antonio. And then, look, he's a mismatch for Rudy Gay. He's a mismatch for DeRozan. He's a mismatch for Aldridge. He's a mismatch for Bertans. They don't really have anybody that can play Kuzma.
Yeah, no, for sure. I get you completely on that, but that is a good play for sure. So, I mean, I think that's about all we got, man, for this slate. You got anything else for him? You want to run I'll run the optimizer real quick and just kind of see what's popping up early. We can do that real fast if you want. And then we can get up out of here. And if you want, you can give them that promo code for the $20 off the first month, the holiday special we're running. So if you want to go ahead and do that real quick while I'm getting these I'm running the optimizer, because that would be pretty cool as well.
All right, so if you haven't checked us out yet and you're finding us for the first time, dfscheatsheet.com. Go check us out. We have all the content tools that you need to compete with the pros on a daily basis. If you sign up right now, we have a holiday special. Take $20 off your first month. So get that VIP membership so you get full access to the site. You get our cash game lineups Monday through Sunday, Monday through Saturday for the NBA, Sunday for the NFL main slate. $59.99. Take $20 off that your first month. It's a $39.99 price. Hard to beat that value. I guarantee you will pay for that in your first month. I guarantee you that you will pay. The information you get on our site and the position we put you in as a player and the process you obtain by coming to the site, you will make your money back and then some in the first month.
You make your money back in the first week, bro. Don't beat around the bush, bro. Hey, we are the money team. Ask around if you haven't heard about us. Definitely come check out the site, dfscheatsheet.com. Real quick, so this is what's popping out early in the projections. They're liking Russell Westbrook, 11,000 tomorrow. Ibaka, DeAndre Jordan against the Pelicans. Man, we definitely got to wait on some news tomorrow and have these updates. I ain't gonna lie. These lines are not really the people that I was looking at kind of early on. What do you think?
I mean, what the optimizer is only as good as the information you give it, right? And that's why we've launched the new tool on the site, which allows you to build your custom player pool, take the information that you get from the site and all of our write-ups, content, etc.
Right.
Use the player pool and go build your lineups. I mean, that's why you watch the information. Optimizer is only as good as the numbers that it has in it. I'll leave it at that. It's looking at raw data. I mean, the guys that's plugging in there, they're good values, but it's not, it's not human.
Just real quick, I just want to show you guys what he's talking about. Now we got our player pool. You could put anybody that you want in here and just run those guys. I just ran the optimizer for 10 lineups. It shows the exposure I got on those lineups. You can adjust exposure. And now, we got the exposure tool. So if you don't want 100% Westbrook, you type in 40% Westbrook, you generate a new set of lineups. It'll generate a new set of lineups with only 40% Westbrook. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, man, shit. Hey, this thing is getting very, very, very exciting. Our optimizer is very close to being almost 100% done. And, I mean, it's been on fire, and we're not even completely finished. I can't wait to add these couple extra tools, and this is literally just going to be an absolute game changer. So, hey, come check out the site, dfscheatsheet.com. I'll be back tomorrow with my NBA core plays. Jeremy will be back with his GPP core plays over there on DFS Cheat Sheet YouTube channel. Make sure you go subscribe to that as well. Thank you guys for checking out this video. We'll be back tomorrow, and good luck on your lineups. Peace out.